go from there.
Have you got the case for the game so you can hold it up?
Oh no, it's downstairs.
Do you want me to get mine? It's right there.
Get your case. Go on. I can't be asked to go downstairs. This is Lord Rexasaur in his bedroom, getting his game case.
Fancy PS5 version as well.
Oh, rubber in.
Okay.
Rubber in.
It's inverted. Ooh.
We got to do our cringy YouTube thumbnail face now, where you put like the game, I put like a weird face. There we go. That's the thumbnail right there. Cool. So that's the intro. So hello everyone. My name's Dragonheart, the Prince of Wales. Out of semi-retirement to do a video with my good old friend Lord Rexasaur.
Hi, that's me.
When me and you get together for these things, crazy shit happens all the time. We've known each other a long time. We go back to the days of Skype and TeamSpeak and staying up late talking about video games, and that's what we're doing today. Staying up late talking about video games, and one of the best video games that I think both of us have played, certainly this year and probably the last few years as well. So before we get into the big discussion, which I know you want to talk to me about so much, and I've been so excited to talk to you about it as well, I've played the PS4 version of Ghost of Tsushima, and I've played it for halfway on the PS4 and halfway on the PS5, but not the PS5 version because you had to pay to upgrade to the PS5, which is the definitive edition. And of course you, which you've just shown everyone there, have played the PS5 definitive edition version. So there probably are going to be some differences, which we will talk about. So I'm going to hand over to you now. Any initial thoughts you want to start off with this fantastic game?
I'm happy I bought it.
Well, you bought it and forgot about it, didn't you?
Yeah. So the game was announced, like the director's cut for PS5 was announced, and I think when it was announced, I pre-ordered it, but I completely forgot that I had done that until I was going through my Amazon orders because I think something had been delayed or I need to check up on something for a different order. As I scrolled down, I was like, "There's an order pending. What the fuck? Why is it? Oh, it's Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, well, I guess I pre-ordered this a few months ago and I forgot." So,
you absolute mad lad.
I know, right?
What are you like?
Past me spending money on future me. What an asshole.
So what were the sort of things, because you've seen me play my version of the game a little bit, what were the differences you noticed?
I didn't actually watch that much. I unless you're talking about when I got the game and then I was watching.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So a lot of the base difference that I can see is mostly the map and also a lot of the locations.
Yeah.
The map in the director's cut, there's a lot more on the actual minimap, so you're able to know where you're going, and also a lot of things are more trackable on the minimap for PS5 version, which made it much easier to go through like the platinum stuff because it's like, okay, I need to go get this thing which is next to this. Oh, well, there's actually already a waypoint here on the PS5 version. That's great. One of the most frustrating ones was the achievement where you have to bow at certain shrines.
Yeah,
that I know on the PS5 version are not marked, but on the PS4 version are not marked. On the PS5, they are, so you can waypoint to them, which makes things much easier.
It was the last trophy I got to get the platinum, and I ended up using a guide. Because when you like bow, certain things happen to show it's gone through like fish in the water splashing, that kind of thing. So and we're going to get into the story in a bit, but I ended up going to Taka's grave for the last part of it, and I bowed there, and then I had the platinum trophy come through then. But yeah, with it not being marked, that is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I felt like the other one that frustrated me a lot was the Sly Cooper Trophy.
Yeah, what was that like? I mean,
it felt so out of place. I mean, I understand because is it Sucker Punch? They made the Sly Cooper games, so that's why it's in there. But it's also still like,
because for the setting and everything, it just a bit jarring.
Ruined the immersion.
Yeah.
Especially since one of the items is like at the very top of one of the temples as well. It felt a little bit like desecrating the temple, going all the way up to the top.
I suppose the other thing as well is with the Sly Cooper costume or outfit, every single person out there is going to literally go onto the menu, add trophy pops, removed.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
gonna, they're not going to run around wearing it.
So much of the items and the cosmetics of the game are so cool, but it's nice because all of them are really, really good. So you'll commit to match to however you want. When I was playing through the game, I started the game and tried to get everything to be like a red color. And then as I progressed, I was like, oh, now that I'm like the ghost, I'm going to be all black and all my items. And then right at the end of the game, you get full white armor to be like the Redeemer ghost. And you're like, I'm going to go all white going forward. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Some of the outfits were cracking mine, weren't they? I really liked the ghost armor. I liked the samurai armor you get quite early on in the game.
Yeah,
when you level that up and you get like the extra bit to add it to the helmet and everything. That was pretty
and a
cool
little
as well.
extra padding on the armor as well.
Yeah, I noticed most upgrade trees in the game, the further up you get, the bigger the armor gets.
It's really fun. It's like the that legendary armor. The I can't remember what it's called. The one that starts with G, but it's like one of the first ones you get, and that one gets fucking. It's like you're wearing a fat suit.
I think the Ronin one, you get like a massive straw hat at the end of it. Ridiculous.
So I didn't really like. I like the Ronin armor just as itself, but I didn't like the hats at all. As funny as the one that is just like a basket, I'm alright. I didn't really like it.
Yeah, it's a bit off-putting when you've got all this badass armor on. You're trying to be the ghost. You're role-playing a little bit, trying to sneak around slitting people's throats, and you've got this fucking weird hat. May as well wear a sombrero by that point. What did you think of Jin Sakai as a protagonist?
I think it's a really good protagonist. I related a lot to him, and when I didn't relate to him, I understood his position. I played him as the ghost, so I every decision that I made in the game, especially the last one, which I'm sure we'll discuss
in a bit
later, I played as him trying to be the best for Tsushima, because the people of Tsushima deserve their chance and deserve freedom, regardless of like breaking off the old ways, kind of thing. To thing, and I feel like the story kind of forces you down that path, and you don't really get to make a decision, and it sort of just happens. You're like, oh well, I kind of like the old thing, but as the story progresses and it's told you, like, actually, Jin's got a point, Yuna's got a point.
Yeah, the story does make a good case for not really disgracing, although that's what he does with his uncle, but to go down the other path, stab people in the back, sit in their throats, to save your people, that's sometimes the better of two evils.
It's the idea that honor is important, but there are times where honor needs to be sacrificed so that the people can still be alive.
Yeah. There's that really good scene, I think it's at the moment where he basically turns his back on his uncle, where his uncle's like, we need to go and attack them, and they go across the bridge, and he's begging his uncle, no, don't do it, you're sending those men to die, and he's like, no, they're doing the right thing. And it's like, even you as a gamer, you're sitting there with the controller and going, what the fuck is his uncle doing? I think the bridge just blows up and they all die, and he's just like, fuck, what have you done?
And then that night he goes in, poisons all of them.
and as you do.
There we go, that's that. No, I thought it was good. I felt like, and I think this is one of the things that you said very early on when you started playing it to me, was that it's like a better Assassin's Creed. And
yes.
I 100% agree with that statement. Because there are a lot of similarities, like on how the game is played, and specifically the fact that it is a combat and stealth third-person game, adventure RPG. The stealth is probably some of the best stealth I've ever played in any game. And what I really like about it, and one of the things that I feel like Assassin's Creed fails to do now, is use height and the difference in height levels to really make it a thing. Because in Ghost of Tsushima, you can like climb on everything you want. Like you go up houses, go on roofs to do all this stuff, use your blow darts, which I really like doing. But also if you want, you can go under the houses so that you can creep into the house from underneath, and you got all these hidden trapdoors, or you could just run around and hack at things like you want to. But it gives you so many different options, and it gives you so many good options because you can stealth in so many different ways. One of my favorite things to do later in the game was to use the hallucination darts, because it allowed you to stealth whilst maximum chaos happened. And it was great.
I think one of the things the game does really well, certainly when you start off, you sympathise with Jin. He's, the game at the start, they have the big battle, everyone's dead apart from his uncle. At that point, like, he knows his uncle's even alive. You get saved, you're kind of worthless, you haven't got your armor, you haven't got your sword or nothing. And the first few enemies you fight, you think, oh my god, they're actually stronger than me.
Yeah.
They're the very basic enemies in the game. And then as you progress through the game, the enemies get bigger, badder. You get the big boss fights, the single combat, which we'll get into in a second as well. When you clear out enemy camps and you fight the warlord, things like that. And you have to use all your full array of weapons that you have to defeat them. One of my favourite weapons in the game was the kunai, when you just threw them at the enemy and three of them would get stunned straight away, and then you use that split second to go and kill three of them to get your I can't remember what it's called now.
Resolve.
Resolve, that's the word, yeah, to get that maxed out, to then hit them with a special move. What do you think of the combat?
I fucking loved it. I thought it was some of the best combat I've ever played in any, like, third-person.
Like, by the end of the game, you're like a god.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I felt the way in which they introduce each stance, and the fact that they're not... the amount of stances that you have, so for those people who don't know, there are 4 types of enemies in the game. You've got your swordsman, your spearman, your brutes, and and the people with shields as well. So those are the 4 types. So you've got a stance for each, but you don't even start with a stance. But the first stance you unlock with by leveling is the one against shields.
Shields, yeah.
I think it's shields first and then swords, but those are the first 2 regardless.
Yeah.
But it means that you're kind of focusing at the beginning of the game of being like, okay, I need to kind of unlock all of this, because if I come across a brute, I literally have nothing to deal with them, and that way you're not dealing a lot of damage to them. It's very difficult for you to like stun them so that you can kill them easy, and you have to rely on things like maybe the bow or your kunai to do stuff. Or other environmental effects, but apart from stabbing them in the back, you don't actually have that at the start of the game, so you're fighting them honorably. True. Yeah. Yes. Right at the beginning you are. Yeah, and I just really, really liked that. I feel like one of my favorite things about the game is the leveling system. I felt like it was really, really good, and the way in which they introduced different types of leveling, and the fact that leveling up your health and your resolve wasn't tied to the normal leveling of your abilities. It's based on exploration, so it kind of tells you explore a lot, and by exploring a lot you're going to come across a lot of enemies, but by fighting enemies you're going to get yourself a lot of experience to spend into new combat ways to beat more enemies, and it was really rewarding that way.
I've played games like for example Shadow of War, those games. I found the combat very repetitive and not as rewarding, whereas in this game, like you just mentioned, going around fighting people, leveling up, what's it called? The experience you get at the top. Yeah, the way of the warrior. Well, the way of whatever it was. Yeah. Getting that maxed out, so it was worthwhile going around doing things, which I liked about the game. I like the fact that a lot of the stuff. I'm going to say this now, and you'll know what I mean. They didn't Ubisoft it. So you didn't have a map with just icons everywhere. Yeah. There were icons there, obviously, as you discover things. Yeah. Certainly like castles and towns and stuff. But you'd have to rely a lot on where the wind is blowing to work out where you got to go. I quite like that. I really love the wind. I thought it was one of the best, especially on PS5. So this is where I'm assuming the PS4 version on PS5 doesn't. But on the PS5 version, to make the wind happen, you scroll up on the touchpad. The pad, yeah. But what the wind would do is that the controller would then have the sound of the wind, and it would vibrate like as the wind is ruffling through trees that are nearby, and it was just so immersive to have in my hand. And I feel like one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this game was also because of the way they used the PS5 haptic controller
to really emphasize. There were moments where you're like unsheathing your sword and you would have the shing come out of the controller, and it was just like, I love it. It's
I think
good.
one of the most satisfying, this is probably going to be for people who like ASMR kind of stuff, one of the most satisfying things in this game is when you have a one-to-one combat and you have that kind of Western standoff, and then he puts his hand on the sword and he just goes, that sound.
It's so good.
Yeah, it really was.
It's really, really good. But yeah, the PS5 controller very much for me enhanced the game. The haiku is also really nice because you got the sing, so you got like the singing coming out of the controller itself.
Yeah.
It was just like really cool.
The only thing with the haiku, which I didn't like, and I think it's just because I'm so used to haikus being on Cards Against Humanity, was trying to make them rhyme or something. I always think back to when Tsunami made that rhyme on haiku before. So every time a haiku came up, I was like, what rhymes? And I realised afterwards, it hasn't got a rhyme. You just got to pick things.
Haikus don't rhyme. It's based on syllables. Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting because in the end, the haiku literally meant nothing, and all it gave you was a headband. But it felt important. It felt like important. Because every part of the haiku was Jin sort of trying to work about and meditate on a very particular part. So sometimes it was on loss because like his father died, or it was on his uncle because his uncle like doesn't like him anymore, which then needs to honor, or on Yuna, or all these elements. And it felt really real. And even though the haiku itself didn't mean anything, it meant something to the player.
I think it's a trophy tied to it, though, isn't it? You get to go do all of them. You got to do all of them.
I mean, I wanted to do all of them.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I started playing it without thinking of the platinum, and then I kind of got into platinum stuff. I kind of blame you for it because of Ratchet and Clank and
very welcome.
other things. But then I got to the point where I was like, actually, I've done like 3/4 of it. I may as well just finish it off and get them all, which is what I ended up doing. It's funny because I started playing the game first before you, but you finished the game before me. You must have binged the game.
I played that game so much, and I did want to stop. I played the game to completion, and then I played something for like to completion very briefly, and then I went back to it to do the
DLC.
The DLC, the Iki Island DLC, which was also fantastic.
I'm gonna play the DLC, but I'm gonna wait until I've done 1 or 2 of the games I got on my backlog. Only because Ghost of Tsushima is still quite fresh, and I want to experience that again in a few months' time and not too soon.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I couldn't wait. It was too good. I just wanted more. I was like, I'm not done. I want more. And Iki adds a lot of really cool things, which really make the game the enhanced.
Is it worth? Because the Iki Island DLC obviously has the PS5 version of the DLC you would play. Is it worth getting the PS5 version to play that? Would you say the upgrade or not? Probably a difficult thing to answer without knowing the 2 versions.
Yeah, I mean,
because I could technically get the.
Can you get the PS5 version of the Iki DLC without having the PS5 version?
Did you get the DLC with a definitive edition?
Yeah, it's got everything included.
Because what I could,
and it's got legend modes and everything included as well.
Because I suppose I could look at wherever the Iki Island DLC in the PlayStation Store. I could look at the price of that and get that, but that'd be the PS4. Or I could get the definitive edition, which would be like £25. It would auto pop all the trophies, so to get a free platinum, but then also get access to the DLC of the PS5, which is what I might do. But I'll wait until next year, maybe look for a sale or something.
Yeah. I mean, I played it with the DLC. To come back very brief, because I just remembered on the controller. The PS5 controller with bow physics is fucking
cool.
Because you've got your controller, you're aiming, and then you've got the drawing the bow, the trigger like holds, so you literally is difficult, and you feel the power of the bow that you're firing because you have to draw it, and it feels like you're drawing this huge bow, which are ridiculous in size, by the way, which is obviously accurate to the period, but fuck me, are they massive. But it, like, especially to put the difference between the short bow and the long bow, you can really feel with the long bow how difficult it is to aim, but how powerful it is. And I mean, you can kill fully armored people with it for a reason. It was so good, and it just felt really nice.
I really enjoyed defeating some of the Mongols and then commandeering the Hwacha,
Oh god, yeah.
Although to be historically accurate, I think it was like 300 years later before they actually were used, which is fine. I don't mind games taking a creative spin on things, as long as it's good, and this was good.
Yeah,
it is good,
sure.
And that's something else. Where
I mean, it gave because I feel like those Hwacha sections are few and far between, but every time that they're used, they feel really good, and they feel like they're not overused because of it.
Yeah, and also they progress the story quite well, because there's one where Lord Shimura, his uncle, stay with him, and you commandeer the Hwacha, and you literally destroy a bay full of ships, and then he's just giving you that stern look, and you go in, you used the weapon of the enemy. That's dishonorable. And he's like, if I didn't, we'd all be dead, sort of thing. So he's still fighting his case, and he just sort of like tuts and then sort of walks off.
Yeah, the entire Jin versus Lord Shimura like conflict. I was like, after the moment where he poisons the entire camp, and they have that like, you must disown the ghost and like banish Yuna, or you will be an outcast forever. And you can see that Lord Shimura doesn't want to do this, but he feels obliged to because of his honor. And that entire section just like killed me. I was just like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on.
One of the things the game does really well is you've got obviously the big Mongol leader, which you meet early on in the game, in the very first thing, where
really early on,
when you have that first fight on the beach, and then Lord Shimura sends, I think it's
is it Lady Masako's husband?
It's her husband, Lady Masako's. We're just going to call her husband, right? Husband person.
Yeah,
he goes down with the fight.
His name is.
And he pulls out his katana, and he's like, "Fight me!" And they're all just in a big gang around him, laughing. And then he goes, "Honor, I'll fight you," and just throws like oil on him and burns him to death. So straight away, it's established the Mongols are not going to play fair, which I liked. But also, he's introduced as this big, massive. Khotan Khan didn't actually exist in history. He's played off as a cousin to Kublai Khan in the game, which is fine. And again, good use of history and creativity to make a good character, which I liked and appreciated. But you think straight away, oh my god, this guy is a fucking cunt. Don't you? You just think that straight away, and then you get to fight him early on in the game, and
one of the first things you do
on the bridge, and then I'm like, oh, we can actually rescue our uncle this early. Is that actually going to happen? And they do the fake out where you don't actually rescue him at that moment. It is in that first act, but it's later at the end of that first act. And you're there, and you've got like, I think it's like 3 things of health and a katana. You go, fuck all. You're not even stabbing people in the throat by this point. And he just like knocks you off the bridge, and then it's like, okay, we're a bit weak.
And then the game actually starts there.
And then when you fight him later on, like properly, and you kill him, that was so satisfying. That boss fight,
dude. I loved the fact that it was a multiple. Like, it wasn't just because every single boss fight until then, you literally just had 1-on-1 health bar. When the health bar's 0, he dies. Khotan Khan had 3 different like rotations where you had the health bar, then you had him on the ship ordering his lackeys, and then you had him on the ship, and it was just really, really good. And I felt like it was really, because you hadn't, as a player, had not come across a boss fight like that before, so it was completely new. So you didn't know what to expect. You didn't know, oh god, is he going to have something else up his sleeve? What's going on? And I felt one of the things that really hammered it home for me, that this was like one of the best boss fights probably in any video game that I've played, is the fight itself told a story. Because at the beginning, Khotan Khan is super like overconfident about it. He's like, you're gonna fucking die. And then by the end, he's like running away, throwing like fire at you to try and get you out of here. And you can really feel like that he himself is like uncertain. I was like, fuck, I might actually die to this guy.
It's like poetry as well, because it's not like bloody George Lucas play.
It's like poetry. It's all poetry. It's like a haiku.
He stabs him in the stomach, impales him onto the wooden beam, and then he gets the sword, spins, slices the head off, which is exactly what he did to Taka when you're arrested halfway through the game. Yeah. So it was symmetry that would happen to him, which I thought was really satisfying. What did you think of? Really what do you think of Taka's death?
Dude, I thought it was one of the best video gaming moments, I think.
I wanted to cry almost. I wanted to cry. It almost had me, because at that point, you go on the journey with Yuna at the start, and I thought it may have gone down the road of it's going to be a romance with Yuna.
I'm so happy it wasn't. I'm so happy it wasn't.
I think I am as well, because it would have been too obvious. But I would say she's more like a close friend or like a big sister. Certainly in the earlier parts of the game, where she's keeping you alive, teaching you things, teaching you how to stab him in the back and everything, and there's other ways to win a fight, basically. And then you come across Taka, and Taka, he's like your biggest fan. He is like your biggest fan. He's like a little puppy, and he's like, "Oh, I'll make something for you," and he makes you like the hook where you can jump to get higher ledges and stuff.
At first, though, Taka's like really uncertain with you.
Yeah, but
then you help him. You're like, I need something I need you to make this for me. I can't remember exactly what it is at first. Is it the sword? There's something that you need to get from Taka first.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, and then you help him on his first like mini quest, then he becomes like, oh, dude, I made you this and I made you that, and it's this is a grapple hook. This is what you guys. It's like, oh, cool.
I feel like Taka's death is one of the reasons why Jin went against his uncle. Like
100%.
That was the turning point almost, because after he dies, you then go to Lord Shimura. That's when he has the thing where he sends all the men to the death. You're pouting then afterwards. Yuna's talking to you, and she's going, "I have something for you." What is it? And it's like, Taka made this for you. Here was his last gift. And you're like, oh my god, Taka made something for us. It's like a gift beyond the grave, and it's the ghost outfit.
Ghost armor.
It's like, oh, I know I gotta go through with it, and then that's kind of it cements your place then of what you're gonna do for the rest of the story.
It's great. I feel like it's so well paced for a story. I feel like it is definitely one of the best paced, well written stories. So Taka's death was like really. I wasn't expecting it. I don't think anyone would have expected it really. Although from seeing the game up until now, and especially Khotun Khan, I think it's not really like surprising. But I still wasn't expecting it. But the other part that really, really got me, and you're probably going to laugh at this, but it's when Jin escapes from his uncle and the horse dies.
Yes, that got me as well.
It's so sad.
It's not just the fact the horse dies, though. It's the fact at that point you go north. It's the start of Act 3. The weather changes. Everything becomes dreary and dark. The horse is kind of limping to start with, and then it's going slow, and then it just collapses, and then the music plays. And once that music plays, it's like, oh, fuck.
And and
you name the horse at the start of the game.
Yeah, and also Jin is like literally like yelling. It's like, no, you did so good, my only friend, you rescued me, and it was just like, killed me, man.
The characters in the game are so good. Like, we've mentioned Taka, we've mentioned Lord Shimura, but the side characters as well have such important stories. And you could literally play this game, I think, and not do like any of them, but you'd be missing out and doing yourself a disservice.
So much.
You got Lord Ishikawa, or Sensei Ishikawa.
Sensei Ishikawa, Lady Masako.
Norio, the warrior monk, and then I think Yuna has 3 or 4.
Yuna has some. You've also got the merchant guy.
Oh, he was great. Kenji. Every mission with Kenji.
So dumb.
He's fucking done something stupid.
Yeah. It's great though, because although it's comedy relief, but I'm happy that they only had 3 missions for him, because I felt like more would have been too much. So 3 is like the perfect amount. And also his mission, unlike all the rest who have missions where they kind of follow like a geographical location as well, so you're kind of heading in that direction, so it kind of follows through. Kenji's feels very random, and he appears in random places, but every time it's because he's done something stupid in that place. And it's very funny.
But the good thing they did and it's to do with writing as well, I think, in a lot of video games, you come across a character, they get a kick out of it, and then that's all they're known for the entirety of that game or multiple games. With Kenji, okay, you've got 3 missions with him. He's a dumb fuck in all 3 of them. He's been trading with the Mongols. Yeah, he's fucked over his friend. He's done all these weird shenanigans stuff. Taka dies. He actually has a character. He's like, Taka's my friend.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I want to, and he ends up doing something against the Mongols later on, which help him with.
He helps you hugely at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's like, I did this because it's what Taka would have wanted, and I want to honor him. And it's like, oh, they've actually developed that character so much that even though he's a dumb fuck, he's relatable as well, and that's 100%. What I like about all the characters in the game.
Every character. I feel like the weakest character, I think, and you'll agree with me, is Norio's start, especially at the start, because he's introduced in Act 2, which feels late. Like
You should have been introduced earlier on, yeah.
And it kind of feels a little bit like, oh, okay, there's this new character. We're not really sure, but I feel like his arc and specifically the end is really good, shocking, and like fuck, but really good.
Yeah, a lot of bloodlust in that quest, which I enjoyed, but like it should have been introduced in Act 1 with all the other ones, 100%. And then like the way they did all of them was great because it's like I think 8 or 9 for each character.
9 each.
9 each for Masako and Ishikawa. So it's like 3 in each act almost, I think. So that worked out good for pacing. Whereas Norio was like all of his are going to be.
Yeah, it was like I think he had like 4. It might even have been 3 in Act 2 and then 5 in Act 3.
Yeah, it was
and
too
felt,
late.
Yeah, it was a bit much. It made sense geographically because that's where all the temples were, but also it just, I don't know. Maybe if you had one mission in Act 1, so we had him introduced, or
it could have been traveling down south or something, and then
something.
That would
it was definitely the weakest of all the sides, but it was still really good by the end.
Yeah, and again, you could sort of relate to him because he wasn't just like a blank slate character. He actually
100%.
had
the conflict in that story is insane.
Yeah,
and like it felt at times that he was like I felt sometimes when he was giving his exposition, his side of the story, it felt a little bit like I don't understand like why you're angry all of a sudden all this, but when you get to like the final 2, you're like, oh, this explains everything.
Yeah. What did you think of? I'm gonna start off with Ishikawa's arc.
Yeah, so he's the first one you go see anyway because he gets you the bow really early on.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I actually really, really enjoyed the conflict between, because it felt like it mirrored a little bit the conflict between Jin and Lord Sakai.
Yeah.
In that it's an elderly, like, honorable person. Jin's not too pleased with the way in which Lord Sensei Ishikawa was doing his thing, and like I can't remember the name of the.
I can't remember the name either.
Starts with a T, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it starts with a T.
Either way, basically, Sensei Ishikawa is a master bowman of the entire island. But he went into retirement because he actually worked for one of the daimyos who rebelled, like in a previous before the game rebellion. So he went secluded and he trained up a orphan peasant girl, who then, when we meet him, has gone against Sensei Ishikawa, and this is where the entire conflict is trying to find her to kill her.
And you find out that after like the 3rd mission, I think, that she's now training Mongols in archery. You discover some corpses of some soldiers and stuff, and it's like you're investigating the arrows. And he's like, it's I almost got it.
Japanese arrows.
Toloi?
No, I don't think it's Toloi.
I'm getting close. I think
it's called. You know what? I'm just gonna look it up.
just while I'm talking, just look it up. I'm gonna see how close I am out of 10. Yeah, and you just see the arrows, and it's like, oh, it was her doing. And then about halfway through the arc, you find her finally. You go on that chase mission, and then you see her at the very end, and she's got a mask on, and you don't actually see what she looks like or anything. And then it just vanishes and runs. It's like, oh, it keeps you wanting more because you haven't got that resolution that you want. Tomoe. It's Tomoe. It's Tomoe. I got it. Tomoe. Yeah. I wasn't far off.
No, you weren't that far off.
I added an L for some reason. But...
Tomoe. Yeah.
Tomoe.
Yeah. So, and I really enjoyed the final arc of that, because the final arc, Tomoe comes... So at the final Act 2 final mission of that, she comes to you to be like, you should, like, this, you are chasing me, and I know that you don't really believe that
you find her. You find her in the north, and she's in like a hut somewhere, isn't she? And she's not having her mask on. I think she's just there acting normal. And then you suss it out, and you're like, so how? It's almost like how things Tomoe. It's like, you know who I am. It's like, you're the one I'm looking for. And it's like, ooh. And she's like, are you going to kill me? And she's like, no.
Because... Yeah, exactly. Because by this point, Jin has gone so far in his own story that he doesn't.
It mirrors. It mirrors.
And it's
poetry.
It's really fucking good, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic story. And by the end, she leaves the shores of Tsushima, and Sensei Ishikawa is just like, that's okay, she can go.
Goes to the mainland.
Yeah, it's great.
And she'll be the main character of Ghost of Tsushima too.
Dude, that'd be amazing. I would totally be down for that.
We'll talk about that in a bit, because I do want to ask you a couple of things about any like spin-off games or future games, or if it's a series or anything. Lady Masako.
Lady Masako. This is the one that I'm like...
I found it interesting.
I really enjoyed it, and I understand the whole revenge thing. I feel like it took her so fucking long, though, to finally get that, like, oh, I'm okay now. And the ending just felt really...
The ending was weird.
It was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Her sister's behind all this, apparently.
Yeah, I found the ending that it was a bit shit. The ending, I thought it could have done a bit better, but up until that point, everything had been so good on her arc. You felt her rage, especially the mission where you're on the shores. You go back to the very first battle. Her two sons are there, and you're looking amongst all the banners, and it's like, I can't find them. And then you find them strung up on a tree, hung, and as a mother, she's got to go and see that, and it's like, oh my god. So that was quite impactful. So I kind of got her thing for revenge and everything, but then when you find out his sister planned it all along, it's just because, like,
and the reason behind it's so weird as well, because her sister basically she was supposed to marry Lady Masako's husband.
That's right.
Didn't, because I think it was Lady Masako's husband like saw Lady Masako and preferred her, or something on that line.
They tried to Game of Thrones it, really, didn't they? And it was a bit of shit, really.
It probably is not that great of a...
Which is a shame, because like the 8 missions leading up to that were great, and then you had that final one, which was a bit like, oh...
Yeah, I mean, the mission itself was fun, because you just go around slaughtering people, but...
And seeing her go nuts, and there was one where she went nuts halfway through, where you find this guy who's one of the names of the 5 or 6 names they have. They were great.
I feel like one of the best... So there are 2 moments of the Lady Masako arc, which I think are really good. The first is the implied lesbian love interest. With I felt like that was like really brave of them to do, but also still make it work in that time period. Yeah. Because it's like it's showing a little bit of LGBT representation in a historical game that still makes historical sense and plausibility to have. The other one is when Lady Masako goes absolutely fucking apeshit at Jin and tries to kill Jin, and it's like, don't try to kill me again.
You've just done you've done the mission. You found the guy that she's been after for like the last hour and a half of the game or something, and then you finally find him, and then Jin's like, you're going to torture him, and she's like, I'm going to kill him. And it's like, no, it's not the way. He's actually innocent. He's just like a messenger, basically. You don't know what you're doing. I'll do what I want. I'm getting revenge for my family. No, you're not. And you release him. You're going to stand him away. All of a sudden, it's like, no, I'm going to kill Masako. No, I don't want to kill Masako. Yeah. And then you have that fight with her where she just goes absolutely nuts on you, and then you get attacked, and then that spoils it. And then it's like, oh, okay, we'll fight side by side again. And then you kill a bunch of Mongols and whatever, and then she kind of realizes the error of her ways.
So the reason why is because the guy who Lady Masako is trying to kill, not only is he a messenger, he's also a monk, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's like
he was religious.
Temples, but it was that whole conflict was so well done. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, even more of a reason why the ending's a bit of a shit, just because everything up till then had been so good.
I appreciated what they did with the side quest, because there's a lot of RPG games out there now. I'll name 2. So you've got The Witcher 3, which has phenomenal side quests, multitude of them, and they'll go off onto arcs. And they've got Assassin's Creed, the new ones especially. We have a side quest, and it's literally go and bring me this, and it's done. And then you'll go to the next blip on the map, go and bring me this, go and send a message to this person, go and stab that person, take this to somebody. It's that kind of fetch quest which I hate. What I liked with this was you did have some of those smaller, isolated quests which you want to have to fill a bit more time in the game and the world. And some of them are really good, because you mentioned in our conversation just now about Ishikawa being the bowman in the war previously. Some of those side quests actually talk about the war and the clan that went down and stuff. So it brought a bit more life to the world. But what I appreciated is that the quest with like Ishikawa, Masako, Kenji, they went on and told a story. So you had the overarching story of the game, but then you had all of these other smaller quests with characters that are important, that do have a story to tell, that you do want to go to the next quest, you do want to go to the 2, 3, 4, and so on. And there's not many RPG games that do that, where they get you that invested.
And another reason why they matter so much is because each of these characters help you in the main quest as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So
exactly.
you want to help them so that they in turn help you and like go with the main.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of you doing their missions in the first act, is so that they help you rescue your uncle.
Yeah, because they are involved in it in some fashion.
And it's just, I feel like it's one of the best ways to like write up and make it so that you want to do these side things.
Because at the end of the day, even though they're all completely different characters, you know, you've got Ishikawa, who's betrayed by Tomoe, or feels like he has been betrayed. You've got Kenji, who's a fucking thief. You've got Warrior Monk, who's out for blood, and you've got Yuna, who's got her story with Taka and everything. They're all linked because they're all linked
through Jin,
They're linked through Jin, but they're all linked because it's their land, it's their island that's been attacked by the Mongols. They have to protect their home, whether they like it or not. So that's what links them all together. And you get that climax at the end of the game, obviously, which you mentioned about Khotun Khan and everything, and having them fighting at that big battle towards the end of the game. It's great to see them. Every opportunity I had, when you had that downtime before you got to like the big battle, and it's got optional speak to your friends. I spoke to every single one every single time.
100%, just to see what they had to
because
say.
I wanted to. Like, there's no trophy incentive in there for that, but I wanted to, just to see the dialogue and to see what they said.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And Tales of Iki Island is basically very similar in that the people who you interact on Iki Island are all to do with the history of Iki Island and how they're trying. Like it's so good. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I will play it. Like I said, I'm gonna give it a few months.
Without spoiling anything, it is very similar in how the land and the history of the place plays into the main story that you're playing. It's really good. But yeah, the entire story of even just Tsushima is just, it's nice because it feels, because obviously it's a fictional land, but it feels very much like it is still a real Japanese place with its own culture, with everything that's been going on. It has a past because we've got the Civil War and obviously the fact that Shimura and Jin's father used to be like the people who worked together until the untimely death of Jin's father, and it's just, it feels like a real place telling a real history that you're playing through, even though it's all fake. It's done so beautifully that it works so well.
But I think it's because the most important thing it had was storytelling, the basic art of storytelling, which a lot of games miss, and especially multi-year games where they churn out the same thing every year, regurgitate it. Oh, we'll make the game 80 hours, we'll make it 100 hours. It doesn't matter how many hours you got in the game. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima is probably...
It's close to 60 to 70 hours, I think. If you were to do everything. But if you were to just do the story, maybe like 25 to 30? Maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say 30, so yeah, about that probably. Which, you know, I think 30 hours is pretty
reasonable,
good. Pretty reasonable, yeah. And the average person can pick up that game and play it and enjoy it.
The missions, there are very few missions that are that long as well. So you could literally, if you don't really have time to play every day, you could literally just pick it up for an hour and do like 2 or 3 missions and then carry on where you're going. It's really, really well timed on all of them.
So we spoke about Khotun Khan and we said that that's the end of the game, but it's not quite the end of the game, is it?
Ooh.
So I wanted to wait until this part of the video.
Loved it.
So
good.
You kill Khotun Khan. The island is saved effectively. You've wiped out the Mongols. Obviously, they say you need to go and clear up any Mongol
the remaining
camps
outposts and things,
which makes sense because there's still some they probably by this point in the game. I think at that point they reveal on the map where the other ones are, which is great. You're gonna clash with your uncle. You go to the checkout, the marker on the map. Go to the place where you used to. Is it where you used to fish or where you used to spar?
No, it's where he taught you how to fight.
It's by the river, isn't it? You start off there, and then he says, well, "Come with me."
So the location is the same location where the tutorial for combat happens.
Yeah, so you're on the horseback with him. You go through this little village, and you're on horseback talking along. The music's nice and calm, lovely sunshine. You get in the village. You see this guy. he's helped with his carriage because his wheel's broken. You jump out, you and Lord Shimura, you help him, and you're thinking, oh, are they getting on? Your uncle and basically you're his son at this point, or in his eyes anyway. Help him. It's like, oh, take care, my friend. Where you traveling to? Oh, I'm going to the north. The ghost needs me to help out with supplies. And it's like, oh fuck, what have we done? And Lord Shimura's there. The ghost has basically surpassed you. It's taken over the island. Blah blah blah. You must kill the ghost. Blah blah blah. Then you go to the place where you've been doing all the tutorials and stuff in that lovely, beautiful red field. And it's just you and him. And at that point, he says to you, the Shogun's put a price on your head.
Yeah.
Basically, he says, I am to take your head to him as reward for... loyalty.
It's I need to take your head, or I will lose mine. Effectively,
that's the quote. Yeah, or I'll lose mine. And then he's going, and he sort of like touches. I think he touches the flowers stuff. He goes, "Isn't it beautiful? Our last day together." Something like that. And I'm just like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna break down and cry over you." No, and then you literally you're praying. You're on your knees. I think it's like
you have a haiku. You have a
haiku there, and you're like, "Holy shit! We're gonna actually fight him by him and potentially kill him or whatever." And of course, the game gives you a choice at the end of the game. So what choice did you...
So I killed Lord Shimura at the end.
And I did the opposite. So that's quite good that we both did the opposite. I've seen your version of it on YouTube because I wanted to watch it. Both endings are really good though. And both of them pay off in such a great way. Because like it makes sense to kill him because in your eyes, I'm never going to get rid of him. He's going to hunt me.
So the reason why is like, so part of it is he's always going to be there. He's always going to, and the other part is he's not going to be able to live with himself in that. And I feel like when you're making that choice, he does say, "Kill me a warrior's way," which I personally saw as being like the ultimate way to respect his honor is to kill him the honorable way.
And he asks for it as well. So it's like, you want me to, and then in his eyes, you're closing his eyes for the final time, but in his eyes, he'll see you doing an honorable thing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that kind of reverse way of thinking where it's like, that makes so much sense. Alternatively, sparing him, he basically walks off and goes, "Fuck you," and he puts the mask on and walks away. And then that makes sense as well, because like, well, I've gone this far being the ghost. I'm going to continue being the ghost because I know I'm doing the right thing in my heart. I'm not going to kill you because I love you and you're my uncle. It's that as well. And both endings are so satisfying.
And the thing is, even though both are so different in the ultimate, like you're literally killing or sparing someone, both sides make sense from the entire story. Since the beginning up until right now, the entire story has culminated to this final decision, and both of them make sense. And I feel like that just tells you just how well this game is written.
Yeah, because most games do the whole multiple choice ending. Every game has, we got a good ending.
Yeah, we got a good ending or a bad ending. This is just an ending.
Yeah. How about you just have two endings and both of them be fucking amazing?
Really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can have Mass Effect where all three are bad.
Exactly. So the game itself, I mean, I think you said it on Twitter, Game of the Year. I mean, I know it came out last year.
Game of the Year, top 3 games.
You can say it's the best game I played this year.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah, I'm saying that about it.
Which sucks because I also played Ratchet and Clank at the start of this year, but you know.
I think it's better than Ratchet and Clank, but
yeah, no, I agree. It is just because of the way, like they're different games in all, but even. I don't know if you heard that, but that was weird. No, I feel like it's like Horizon Zero Dawn, which I also think is that. So both Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn for me are the best games I've ever played on PlayStation, and they are both so good because of the gameplay is obviously really strong to keep you wanting to play, but the story is so gripping that it keeps you wanting to know what happens next. And but Ghost of Tsushima for this year, definitely 100% fantastic. We'll see if it maintains that rank when I play in February Horizon Forbidden West. But yeah, so far it probably is my favorite PlayStation game.
So if you're I don't know, CEO or somebody high up in Sucker Punch, you've just been responsible for making one of the best games in recent memory.
With the highest praise from Lord Rexasaur from Update Monday.
Exactly, which you can't get better than that. Let's be honest. You're looking at the profit signs. You're looking at how well the game has sold, how well it's done.
Oh yeah.
You're going to obviously be tempted to make a sequel.
Yeah.
In a few years' time, say 4 or 5 years' time, maybe towards the end of this generation of console, because it did come out at the end of the PS4's generation.
I feel like they're probably going to do in the PS5 gen. They're probably going to do 2 more Tsushima games. But
as somebody who has an appreciation for storytelling, how would you go about doing a sequel? Like, just off the top of your head,
it's difficult. Because I feel like the reason why Ghost of Tsushima works so well is because you're following Jin. So either they continue to follow Jin going forward from what happens after Tales of Iki Island, because obviously Iki Island happens after the events in Tsushima. Yeah. So it would be beyond that. There is a scope for that happening where they would go to the mainland because the Mongols are still there.
Because in history, the Mongols did go back 7 years later, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I feel like just having the same game happen again, though, wouldn't be
That's
fun.
the thing. That's what I thought.
So there's 2 possibilities. Either it happens on the mainland. Actually, there's several possibilities, but if we're going from a Jin side story, happens on the mainland, or they go to the Asian mainland and go and attack the Mongols there and like try and do like when Japan went to attack Korea.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So something like that where it happens in Korea, which at this point was under Mongol, I believe it was anyway. So they would be like, you've sent so many ships our way, now we're going to do the counterattack. The Shogun has ordered. However, on the flip side, it wouldn't make really that much sense for Jin to do it unless he's out for revenge. Maybe like Yuna's been captured or someone else. Something happens where that would be the case. The other thing is whether they don't do Ghost of Tsushima and just do Ghost of somewhere else. But it would be really interesting for that. I don't know. It's really interesting. The thing is, this game, obviously, like, they don't need to make a sequel. It doesn't need it. It works so well as a standalone game.
But how many times have companies had a really good game and then they do a sequel and people go, "Oh, I wish they make a sequel. The original was so much better."
Yeah,
but they do it because obviously money talks.
Well, yeah, it's obviously, yeah. But there's no reason why they can't have the same ideas, the same people writing. But because we know that the people who wrote this know how to write.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like, I don't know. It's weird because they could just make a different game completely, and people will be like, "Oh, it's the new Sucker Punch game. We really want to try it out." It's not like Ghost of Tsushima, but the writing is going to be great, and then it turns out, oh my god, this is as good, if not better. I didn't really know at the beginning if this was going to be like. Obviously, it's completely departed from Ghost of Tsushima. Blah, blah. Obviously, there's the issue of sometimes when people do that, you end up with Cyberpunk 2077, which is not but.
Yeah, I mean, with the story for a second game, we know regardless of what choice you pick at the end of this game, the Shogun are after him. He's basically an enemy, so you could have him on the mainland for a period of the game, perhaps, and then have it so you're fighting your own people effectively. Yeah,
but the thing is that goes so much against what Jin's doing, unless what it is that he's gone to the mainland because the Shogun is very repressive on the Japanese people. So the point of Jin being there is to wake the ghost, and because the ghost is in the end like the Robin Hood or like this common cause to help the people is to get the people to have a better place. So to replace the Shogun with the Emperor, because obviously the Emperor at this point has no power. So maybe
could have a civil war situation where somebody usurps and becomes the new shogun and he's involved in that. You could use a death like Yuna, for example, as a way to propel him, because by this point Yuna could be the only thing he's got left, the only person he's got left who understands him and everything, become his closest ally and friend. They got scope to do
they do definitely sequel. And I know that as amazing writers they probably have some ideas as well.
They're bound to be writing it right now as we speak.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
They must be looking at this game and going, okay, we've done this masterpiece. Because by this point, I think Sucker Punch had done. Is it the Infamous game or something like that?
Yeah. Infamous, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they were known for. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, the Infamous games are pretty good, but yeah, they're not like this good.
not like this good. No, they just sort of come out of nowhere. It's like, oh my
the
god,
Infamous series is the kind of series that's like, yeah, it's like it's like your day job kind of game where it's like, I'm making a game. This is going to make a profit, not a huge profit. It'll make a profit, but hey ho. Yeah. This is like the award-winning, insane game that gets you lots of people liking, so that you can propel further. Which I feel is what happened with like the God of War games, because it feels like the original God of War games were kind of like, the first one did really well, and then it's more of a like, day job, make another God of War, blah 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 blah, and then you got the PS4 God of War, which is like, oh my god, this is incredible. The storytelling's incredible. The fight, it's all great. And then you got Ragnarok coming next year, and everyone's really hyped for it because of how good the first one was. So if they manage to do and grasp the same thing here, then it would be absolutely incredible.
I love how you were able to sneak God of War into this video.
I mean, do you want me to sneak something else? These are all PlayStation games. It just shows that PlayStation is just better than Microsoft.
They should have so many good exclusives, though, doesn't it?
100%, and they keep adding more because they know how good they are.
Horizon, you've mentioned. God of War, you've mentioned.
God of War,
Ghost of Tsushima,
Spider-Man,
Ratchet and Clank,
Spider-Man. All the Insomniac say.
Insomniac, yeah. Last of Us, I can vouch for because they're good games. You wouldn't agree with me, but they are good.
That's just because I don't really like zombies.
Yeah, but they're great games. I can say they're great games. So
yeah. Lots of really, really, really.
Uncharted games.
The Uncharted series.
There's so many great games on PlayStation.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, really good. Bloodborne, was Bloodborne
exclusive PlayStation?
Yeah,
I still haven't played it. I got it in the room. It came with the PlayStation.
Not my kind of game.
It's not my kind of game. I don't really care for the Soul games, but
yeah.
Anyway.
So they've got all of these games, and I feel like because in the end consoles are very similar, I feel like it's the exclusive that sell the consoles.
Definitely.
And that's why for the last two generations, PS3 versus Xbox 360 was very much more of an Xbox generation, but
definitely
PS4 versus and PS5, they're slaying it in terms of just because their exclusives are so good, whereas things like the games that are exclusive on Xbox are also on PC, so it's like I don't really need the console. I've got a computer, I can just play it on that, which is great from a gamer's perspective because you got the choice of
everything pretty much
what
you want. Yeah.
And I'm happy that I've got the choice of getting games that might interest me that are on Xbox because I could just play them on computer.
Exactly.
But I can't play Ghost of Tsushima, although I can play Horizon Zero Dawn on computer now, and that's great of Sony to finally be able to do that, to port some of their games on PC. Although their ports aren't very good, but that's not the point. The point is the availability is there.
So any final points you want to make on Ghost of Tsushima?
Something
you don't think we've covered or anything?
I think that I think we can just briefly touch on the collectibles.
The Fox Dens.
The Fox Dens, but also just the general collectibles. One of the things that I really enjoy about the collectibles in this game is that every collectible you have a historic blurb on exactly what this is, how it was used in real life, why it's important.
Do you know a game that used to do that?
Was it Assassin's Creed?
Yeah. It's like a better version of Assassin's Creed, isn't it? Certainly the modern ones.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I liked it so much.
Yeah, it was very much. It's like what's another game that took? I can't remember what one I'm thinking of. But basically, you have this legacy. You have a legacy of a game franchise, but because there's no real competitors, they become crap. Basically, they rest on their laurels and they don't really innovate anything. And Ghost of Tsushima, I feel, saw that, took that, and was like, let's innovate completely. Let's make things differently. Let's make an Assassin's Creed game that we want to make and call it something completely different. And I feel like a lot of people, when they were being like, oh, it'd be really cool if Assassin's Creed was set in like Japan because ninjas. And in the end, that is what it is. It is basically a ninja game, except it's a samurai stealth game.
It's shit all over Ubisoft because if they'll stop them really to be able to do that, because if they ever do an Assassin's Creed in Japan now, it's going to be compared.
Now it's going to be compared,
Yeah, and then they've got to make sure that Assassin's Creed game knocks it at the park, otherwise, it's just going to fail badly.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, I feel like I really enjoyed the collectible part of it. It didn't feel like a slog, and also it was nice that whilst they didn't show you all the collectibles on the map, like a lot of games do, one of the items is the Traveler's Garb allows you to use the wind to the nearest one. I feel like that's a really good way of doing it.
Just makes a little noise and goes green, shines green, and then you're in the vicinity of a collectible. Yeah. And I like the fact with the platinum as well, they didn't need to get every single collectible. It was like a certain amount, which was nice.
Half of them, I think it was. Half of each. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, so final closing remark, this game is 10 out of 10 for sure. Top 3, I think. Comparable, I think, to Horizon Zero Dawn on terms of PlayStation games.
Yep, I pretty much agree with that. It's up there, one of the best games I've ever played, certainly in recent years. Probably the best PlayStation exclusive I've played. Maybe. I haven't played God of War, so I can't compare it to that.
Ragnarok is happening soon.
Yeah, I've played a lot of other PlayStation exclusives, and it's better than them, I'd say. So yeah, it's up there. It's top 3, top 5 of my games of all time.
Yeah,
so it's on that list for sure. I mean, I can't say it's the best because I'd have to really think about all the games I've played, but it's certainly.
No, I mean it's not. I mean the issue is that XCOM 2 will always be my favorite game of all time.
Exactly.
But this is like definitely. I think it's probably my. I'm gonna say. I'm going to be replaying Horizon Zero Dawn, the PlayStation 5 version, before Forbidden West comes out, which will remind me exactly how I feel. But right now, I think I place this as my 3rd, and Horizon at my 4th. But I'll probably be reviewing that. But either way, they'll be like, it's definitely in the top 5.
Top 5, yeah,
100%.
I definitely agree with that. Like my top 5.
No other game has ever made me cry about a horse before.
That says it all, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
Yeah, they could kill a small child on that game, and you probably wouldn't even blink. Yeah, a horse dies, and all of a sudden, no, they killed the horse. It's because you named the horse at the start of the game. It made you care about the horse.
Literally, the first thing you do in the game is name your fucking horse.
I mean, you get a second horse, and you get to name that horse as well. And there's a different set of names as well for that second horse, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different set of names for the first one as well.
Yeah, but
because the first one, because what happens is you have the intro, which I know in your stream earlier you were talking about best intros in games. I feel like this was very strong intro.
Yeah.
Really cinematic. But you wake up in the field at the beach, and then it's the Ronin friend, I can't remember his name, wakes you up.
Ryozo.
Is it Ryozo who wakes you up? Who the fuck wakes you up right at the beginning? Or are you just woken up on your own and then you call a samurai horse? Or is it a peasant? I can't remember. But either way, you're in a field right at the beginning and you call a samurai horse, and then one of them comes to you and you pick a name from there.
Yeah. And it's usually like the Japanese for like
Japanese for like wind or whatever.
Yeah. We haven't mentioned Ryozo at all. I feel quite bad. We mentioned all those great characters, not him. The betrayal and everything with him.
Ryozo is a really great character, and I feel like he's a really good. Because Khotun Khan is the big enemy, but Ryozo becoming like the mini enemy was on point, really good. And you can, because the cutscenes always showed him and Khotun Khan's sort of interactions before then facing Ryozo and stuff. It was really good.
And at the end, like Ryozo knows his days are gone when he's facing Jin, because he's never been able to best Jin before, so he knows he's going to die, but he still tries to make that deal. It's like working on the friendship, going, "We've been friends, we've known each other since we were small boys. You can let me go." And he's like, "I can't do that." And it's like, "Oh, we're going to kill him. We're finally going to kill him." Because you fight him earlier in the game, and he gets away, and it's like, oh.
Those fights, the first fight with Ryozo, I died so many times.
I did. That's the first time you have that fight, though, isn't it? That one-on-one fight.
Yeah,
I died a lot as well.
Yeah, those fights are really fucking good, though.
When you level up a few times, though, and you have the ability to have like an infinite amount of resolve and stuff, you can just literally go whack, 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 and you've won. Once you're like a god, it's great.
It's really good. But I mean, you work hard to get to that point.
Yeah, it's satisfying.
No, very good characters overall.
Cool,
great game. 10 out of 10.
I think we'll end the video here if you're happy to. We've been talking.
Well, carry on.
We've been talking for about an hour.
It's pretty good.
Hours talk on Ghost of
All the
Tsushima.
people are listening, right? You just wasted a whole hour when you could have been playing this fantastic game yourself.
Exactly. All 2.5 people that are watching are going to be so disappointed. So yeah, thank you, Lord Rexasaur, for joining me and having this discussion.
Anytime.
If you want to subscribe to Lord Rexasaur's channel, you'll get a video from him most Mondays, Update Monday,
true.
and occasionally you'll get a Lord of the Rings reading stream on his Twitch as well.
Starting up again next year.
2
towers, let's go.
Which, by the time this is uploaded, will be this year.
Hey!
Because this video is going up in 2022.
But it's 2021 now.
I know, but I'm having a break from the videos this year. It's just going to be in the backlog for next year. So that's how I do things around here.
So happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year! Hope last year ended well for you all.
Yeah, hopefully Omicron hasn't killed everyone.
Yay! Anyway, bye for now.